morning, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and get started. A couple quick reminders. Monday, it's Veterans Day observed, so we don't have school. The son shouldn't come to school on Monday. And then next Friday is parent conferences. Your son shouldn't come to school next Friday either. It's a great week for them, 3-day week. You should have signed up for a parent conference to meet with your son's advisor back in September, back to school night. You had the opportunity to sign up. For some reason you haven't yet, contact your son's advisor to schedule a conference. Again, conferences are just with your son's advisor. They will have the progress report. They'll talk to all his teachers, or talk with your son, and be ready to sort of talk about your son's progress over the last few months, and not just about individual classes, but sort of the big picture and how we're doing. So that's next Friday. Again, if you either don't remember when you signed up, if you don't think you signed up, just contact your son's advisor about that. And because we're coming up on a progress report, and our progress reports for our team classes will look different than they've ever looked in the past, we thought we would have this meeting today, talk a little bit about what that's going to look like, why it's going to look like that, and give you an opportunity to talk to one of the team teachers from your son's classes to ask some specific questions. So I'm going to just present for a little bit and then turn it over, and we'll have sort of one team in each of the four corners of the room, and you can go so you can ask more specific questions from what you're seeing. We'd love to get your feedback. What do you see when you look at the grade book on Canvas? How confusing is it? How can we, by having that conversation, we can continue to work to improve what you're seeing, which is not great. The parent view is not great. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And as we talk about this, the first thing I want to talk about, grading is one thing. What's most important is student learning. And we're talking about what we're trying to teach, what we want the students to learn, and how the assessment process we're hoping is augmenting that, is helping the learning. So we're going to talk about what students learn, how they think about learning. Then I want to talk about, because I think this is really important for you, because you never see it, what does that look like in the classroom? Because a lot of times the boys don't always tell you what's going on in the classroom. They don't always know, they don't always articulate well what's going on in the classroom. But that's the crucial part of the learning, is the interactions and all the different things teachers are doing in the classroom around the assessment. And then we'll talk about how we convey the information on student progress to the parents and guardians. Again, that's probably the least satisfying piece of the whole thing. So, what should our students learn? So we'll talk about student learning. And as I was thinking about this about a week ago, I was reading an article on artificial intelligence in schools, and I thought this quote was worth putting out. The types of jobs that are at the least risk of being replaced by automation involve problem solving, teamwork, critical thinking, communication, and creativity. Equally important, these skills form a strong foundation for independent thinking that will serve students well no matter what careers they pursue throughout their lives. And I think if we think about what we're teaching in the team classes, it fits right in with this. This is what we're trying to get our students, these are the skills we're trying to help our students develop as we go forward. And in middle school, the focus is on skills. And a lot of us, as we think back, of our educational, we think back on our education, fairly easy sometimes to remember college or grad school, possibly high school. A lot of people can't remember much from middle school, or they blocked it out because it wasn't that great to remember anyways. But in high schools tend to be more content-driven. Middle schools tend to focus on skills. And we look at the skills we're focusing on in the team classes: writing skills, oral communication skills, collaboration skills, use of information. We'll talk about that in a second. And we also stress building academic habits, being organized, meeting deadlines, getting work done on time, so knowing what you need to do and planning things out, as well as content knowledge. Certainly it is content knowledge and learning. It's just not the only thing we're sort of focusing on. We'll talk about just about the skills for a second. They're complex skills. Writing skills, we all learn writing skills in school and we learn them along the way. I think we do more with oral communication skills than we did when I was a student. Getting boys to be able to present, be able to speak about things, to be able to synthesize information, articulate it. Collaboration skills, I don't think anyone talked about that when I was in middle school, but the ability to work with one another, and some of the guys are better at that than some of the guys are better at any of these skills than other skills. And every one of our students has strengths in some of these areas and weaknesses in other areas. Use of information is the term we came up with last spring when we were thinking about, okay, what are we actually doing in classes? And use of information covers a lot of things. So in English, it's reading. A lot of the information is you're reading a text, but also being able to pull information from the text, to be able to pull a quote, to be able to pull evidence out of the text and use that evidence in some way. In social studies, it also research, but information isn't just textual information. Information can be a map you're reading, a graphic images you're trying to interpret, political cartoons you're trying to interpret. It can be spreadsheets or graphs, charts, everything like that. Science, a lot of times it's taking the data that they're doing in an experiment. Again, a lot of times in science it's reading many of the things that they're reading in social studies, where there's a lot of overlap there in some of the classes. So use of information is a pretty big topic. I think when, certainly, 10, 15 years ago, teachers tended to be the ones just giving the information. And a lot of what students were doing was memorizing the information and regurgitating it. Nowadays, we realize that it's probably better to be teaching the students the information is out there. They can access it much more quickly than they ever could before. Positives and negatives to that. But our job is to really teach them not to regurgitate it, but how to use it, how to analyze it, how to think about it, how to use that information in some way. So that's a big part of what they're doing every day in class. Now again, all of those things are complex skills. They don't just learn them and say, good, I'm done. Hopefully they're going to continue to improve their writing for years and years. I think I peaked in my writing ability years ago in graduate school because I haven't written much since then. And we know that a lot of these skills you get better at as you use them more, and they die off when you don't use them as much. But so when I think about the learning in class, it's incremental and it's ongoing. It never stops. It never gets to the point where, wow, I can collaborate as well as I will ever collaborate in my life. Hopefully not in 7th and 8th grade boys. Hopefully this is not their peak of collaboration skills. But it is, and we're trying to get them again to learn to keep moving forward and try to chunk it down in places and scaffold it so that a boy is not saying, I got to be able to write a 5-page paper and I can't write 2 sentences. And some of the guys come in, probably someone could write a 5-page paper right now, and someone might struggle with a few sentences and trying to figure out where they are. And so helping them to focus on mastering each step by step, meeting them where they are, and helping them move along. So these are the skills we're trying to teach. So it doesn't make sense in the way to say, your writing is at a 93%, and your writing is at a 94.5%, and your writing is at 83%. It's more, hey, this is the skill we're trying to teach. Can you use a topic sentence? Can you integrate a quote into your paragraph? Can you write multiple paragraphs that support a thesis statement? And as we build those, we give them feedback and look at it. So these are what we're hoping, these are the skills we want them to learn. The other thing we're trying to do is to have them start to think about how they're learning, what they're learning, and think about their learning in general. And we're trying to build a growth mindset. This has been a pretty common term in education for about the past 10 years. One named Carol Dweck at Stanford did a lot of research into this, and it's been widely publicized in educational journals and in regular magazines, etc. But this idea of building a growth mindset, what Dweck would say is that people, fixed mindset and growth mindset. Fixed mindset would be you take an IQ test at age 5, and it tells you how smart you are, and that's how smart you are for the rest of your life. And there are some guys that should, because of their IQ, should should go into these careers, and some guys, because their IQ is lower, should go into these careers, and that's it. And what Dweck's research has shown is, first off, that's a bad thing for everyone on that list. If you have a fixed mindset and you think, well, that means I'll do well in school, and the first time you don't do well in school, all of a sudden you think, well, maybe I was wrong, I'm not smart enough. And you create a lot of anxiety amongst the students. But also for the student who is told, hey, from the beginning, you're never going to go anywhere because that's all you can do, obviously that doesn't help that person either. And on the growth mindset is the idea that those are only starting points. And if you keep working at it, you will get smarter. You will be able to do more. And everybody has that capability, you just have to work at it. So we're trying to encourage this because it encourages more of a love of learning, it encourages more resilience, things that will allow people to be successful. And Dweck has did some research to show that most successful people have more of a growth mindset than a fixed mindset. And again, there's always sort of continuum in there. So we're trying to help them to build a growth mindset, to think, that failure is an opportunity to grow, that I can learn to do anything I want, that challenges help me to grow, that my effort and attitude determine my abilities, that feedback is constructive, rather than getting feedback and saying, oh, this means I'm terrible. But feedback helps me to learn. I'm inspired by the success of others, rather than looking around and seeing someone else be successful and think, that means I can't do it because they can't. I like to try new things. So part of what we're trying to do with our grading process is to encourage this, to build a growth mindset, to encourage continuous effort. Having the students aim for clear targets, to receive feedback and not take that feedback to comment on a paper and crumple it up and throw it in the trash or throw it in the bottom of the backpack, but to say, oh, the teacher says I need to do this, great, I'll do that next time. Or the teacher says I need to do this, I have no idea what that means, so I'm going to go and talk to the teacher and say, can you explain this to me? How do I do that? To embrace failure. And that's a hard one for most of our kids. And most of us, to embrace failure. And it's a change of culture to try to help them to embrace that. Keep learning to try again to become better. So when we talk about things in class, like retakes and redos, and giving feedback and giving them a grade that's not an A, B, C, D, and not a 92, 84, 73, it's about trying to build this growth mindset as well as trying to build those skills we were talking about. So in the classroom, a lot of times when people ask me about students doing retakes or redos, they say, won't that just mean that a student won't do anything? They'll just be lazy and then do it the second time after they failed the first time. And the reality is when you allow this, you can set much higher standards. You can push the standard very high because your expectation is it may take multiple times to get there. Whereas if you have a standard that you're expecting most students to hit on the first try, or all students hit on the first try, it's going to be lower. So the standards are higher, where we're trying to get them is a higher standards. And important with that is also high expectation. The expectation that everybody can hit this standard. It may take some guys more time than others, but they can all get there. So when work is returned, and in most of the teams it's returned with a grade that says either warning, making progress, or mastery, or in one of the teams it's complete, incomplete. The most important part of that is the feedback on how to improve. And a lot of parents say, I don't see the feedback. And that's, I do want to talk about what does that look like in class. What happens in class, and I walk into the team class a lot, and you see there's a lot of conferencing going on. So a teacher students are working and teachers are meeting individually with students, going over that feedback and saying, this is what you can do to improve this. This is how you do this to improve. That's probably the most important thing that goes on, is that those individual teacher meetings with students about, show me your work, let's look at it, let's talk about it, okay, here's how you improve. Because that's what allows them to improve. For some students, the teacher will say, look, our 2-minute conference is not enough time. we need to meet out of class. You need to come for extra help. I'm available during flex, I'm available before school, I'm available after school. Come for more extra help. Again, offering retakes or redos, retaking the quiz or redoing a paper, multiple drafts. That's, again, a piece, and they talk about that a lot. Hey, we have an opportunity coming up. I'm offering a retake this Wednesday, or you can be redoing things in the next few days in class. So that communication is happening all the time. If your son says, yeah, I don't think I was allowed to retake that, he should know exactly whether he was allowed to retake that, because they've been talking about it over and over again. The teacher's right in front of him. He can say, can I retake this? If he has any confusion. So that should never be a good response when he says, if he's not doing something, and if he says, I don't know, he should know. If he really doesn't know, well, he can ask. Sometimes it's a matter of a new assessment. So if a student writes a paragraph, and the idea of the paragraph was, hey, you have to have a good topic sentence, you have to integrate a quote from the text. He gets it back, the topic sentence doesn't make any sense. Teacher conferences with him, tries to help him figure out how to write a better topic sentence. Maybe she says, hey, come for extra help because the quote integration really didn't work well either. Let's look at some better examples of that. Let's talk about it. Let's see where you got this from. Maybe he redoes it then. Maybe she says, hey, look, we're going to have another paragraph next week. And that's when we'll assess whether you know how to integrate quote, write topic sentence. And again, those reminders happen all the time about what you're doing, particularly as we get close to a progress report. So, you go in and teachers have, posted stuff on the board, or they are, going over, everybody open up your grade book, open up Canvas, look at places where you see you have, a warning, or P, or incomplete, and these are the things you need to be working on in the next few days. So, what doesn't work well in the system, in the system we use on Canvas is conveying this to the parents. Some of it will never be able to convey because you can't see what happens in the class, and that is the most important stuff, is what's going on between the teacher and the student in those conferences, in those extra help sessions, and things like that. And it's hard to keep up with that and convey. Canvas works great if you want to know your son's math grade, right? You open it up, it says the average right there. You can look down. He's got an 84%, and it's pretty simple because he got 17 out of 20 on this test, and he got 16 out of 20 on this quiz, 4 out of 5 on that quiz, and you add it all up, and sure enough, it comes out to 84%. Perfect. Language works like that. Religion works like that. Team classes don't work that way, and Canvas has some ways to show that, but sometimes it's hard for parents to get to that, and sometimes it's just complicated to read. And I get this, and I go through and I understand what I'm doing, and even for me trying to get the information off the Canvas, it's not as easy as we would like it to be. It's not as clear. There's actually a teacher view, which is much clearer. And we're trying to convince Canvas, why can't the parents have the teacher view? Because it's a better view. We're working with that. But your son should be able to identify, and again, as a 7th grader, somewhat, by the end of 8th grade, he really should be able to identify what his own strengths and weaknesses are, what he's doing well. This is what we want him to have an understanding of his own learning, what he's doing well, what he's still working at, how he can get there. The focus on the progress report you're going to get next week, the focus that we're working with him in class is on progress. Where is he right now? How far has he come? The challenges he needs to meet, he's going to meet coming up. What will help him to meet those challenges? Maybe that's extra help sessions. Maybe it's other work he can do. Maybe it's doing a retake. Maybe it's let's meet more frequently. It's not focusing on a grade or a number. It's focusing on sort of where he is. And what's going to be somewhat vague at times is, when is that point where a student should master something, and when is it good that he's just making progress towards mastery? And that is going to be a little different according to the skill they're working at. in some of the skills, they're gonna say, look, in writing, if he's at this point for the quarter, that's mastery. If he's not quite there, then he's making progress, but we're happy with his progress. And he might, 2 weeks later, he might be at that mastery point, so we shouldn't worry about it. And, you know, and that's a good, it's a fine discussion. It's better than the discussion of, hey, my son got an 89.4, why didn't you raise it to an A minus? What's wrong with you? And people have thought that before, no one in this crowd, I'm sure. Because then you're talking about a decimal point and a tenth of a point or whatever it is, and what's that got to do with anything as far as learning? All right, here you're trying to say, okay, where are you going? It looks like you made good progress in your writing, collaboration skills. It looks like you haven't done any oral communication in this class yet. Okay, fine, that'll be coming up. You're making progress. Not to worry too much about, just relax. So does this mean he would have an A if it were in a class? Is he making progress? Is he learning these skills? Is he getting better at these things and feeling confident about his learning? You know, if it says warning, all right, then that's a flag. All right, and when we talked about moving to this grading system, there was some talk about just mastery or making progress. And I pushed and I said, look, if I'm a parent, making progress can be a pretty big range. You know, I want to know if really I should be worried or not. And that's, if you see warning, yes, you should be worried. That means, and it could be, he's just not doing it. He hasn't done anything. He is sort of just lying back and not getting any work done. And we need to sort of do more with this. You know, or he's got a long way to go, and we're working with him, and he's making progress, and we're happy with the progress he's making, but still, he's got a long way to go. So that's why we're saying warning at this time. And that's a good time to have the conversation. Why is he having warning? It's probably going to say in the comment that comes with the progress report. So the progress reports for the team class is going to look like this, and you have a copy in front of you. Francis Xavier, doing fine. You know, you're meeting citizenship. Usually, reliably would be a little better than that. Usually, it's already fine. Unreliably, not good. These writing skills stand, making progress. Oral communication in this class, haven't done anything yet, so it's an NA. Use of information standard, P. Collaboration skills, P. Making progress. Content knowledge, you've mastered that. Academic habits, making progress is good. And then there's a comment down there to explain a little more detail about all those things and some things he needs to work on. So you'll get a comment, you'll get one like this. For the other classes, you will have a straight report card with grade and with a letter grade on it, and then a comment as well for those.